All in favor?
Aye.
Mark Sant?
David Roll.
David Dempsey.
Mariah Lisa.
Selena Muldown.
Reading of the
Okay, we're working
previous.
towards getting a keypad. Tracy's in a meeting in Roland, she's not gonna be able to come tonight, but I have just, everything's on hold. I think the DPW should open and close it. If she needs a key to close it this week, can somebody give her your key, or do you both need?
We'll work it so they are secured with both locks.
Okay, but
Did she confirm that that's what the problem was? It's that.
the problem is they're gonna move to keypads?
Oh, right, but was that the problem? Is
We
that
would
we're
figure out
one
what's
of the
going
two
on.
The
laws?
question is, when they say unlock, what does that mean? Because it could be something that somebody is opening up the handle, we're going out of order, but opening up the handle
Yeah.
and leaving that wide open so there's all access. Or is it just the slide bolt on top that is not being secured?
I,
Don't know, so we can't answer the question, we know what the problem is.
So the,
but the problem is going there daily to open and unlock those doors is significantly above and beyond the call of duty, and it's gonna end.
So
So,
we do that because people need to do their duty.
that's right. But
your husband loves the emails. We had a conversation about that, didn't
Did you?
we? No, I'm just
Oh, yeah,
saying the
that's
jokes,
right.
yeah, he said it.
Getting back, reading of the previous minutes and accepting them. Any changes to the minutes that were sent out?
Yeah, they looked
Carl.
good.
Make a motion, to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Correspondence?
We have a bill from Townsend for propane, $426. What is the propane running, heat? Anything else?
Yeah, it must be.
Was that for the summer, for the winter, or is that a monthly charge?
The last time we had a bill from them was 2 months ago.
I remember
Really?
that, because we were wondering if it was,
It was a $200 bill.
So why would it be $400? That's weird.
Was it paid the previous bill?
As far as I know. Yeah, because it looks like there's a delivery of 90 gallons.
Okay. So there could still be 50 gallons sitting in there, just we're paying for the 90 that was delivered.
So is that for heat? Where's the propane tank?
Outside,
Out back, and where the garage door is on the right-hand side.
Is
on
it
the big
heated?
rock. Yes. They keep it heated at, what, 50 degrees?
something like that,
It's a
40 degrees.
minimum, some, whatever degree that they
So
feel
the
safe
water
with.
won't.
The water
Oh,
and the
it's
foundation
reasonable.
doesn't shift.
and it's definitely set at 50.
I don't know. That's what-
They, according to Tracy, the town has a vacant building policy of how they handle all their buildings for the winter that are not in active use.
Okay,
So whatever it is, that's what they said it is.
okay. Because the other day I did go by at one of the days and the door was wide open. So someone that had gone in to use the bathroom or whatever had left that exterior door wide open.
I may have done that
Oh, okay,
to show people that this
Yep.
is available,
okay,
so that they don't come dependent on,
yeah.
we start getting foot traffic up there, and once people start
Right.
saying, oh, this is a lot better than what's down there,
Yeah.
it'd be good.
I haven't checked in a while. How is the interior?
It barely looks used. Each night when I go in, before I lock, I check all the
Yeah.
stalls and they're all still blue from the cleaner.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what that is too, but that's fine.
And according to the coaches that I've spoken to, they don't realize that it's open, but I know that that emails have gone out to, club or.
They'll figure it out
residents.
eventually.
Right, my daughter was
Yeah.
saying we should put a sign, even one of those, you know, the yellow stand-up signs that just says, you know, restrooms open.
What's the plan with the porta potties?
Well, can we're gonna jump into that, we can.
Okay, no.
Okay,
Well, let's finish the bills.
yes.
Sorry.
And then we have the spring contract from John DiFilippo, who takes care of the sprinkler service. I'm pretty sure we did this last year. It's a spring startup, a fall winterization, and 5 monthly service calls. But I don't think we pay this. I think this is just the contract, and then he'll bill us out as it goes forward.
Who signs that? By Tracy, right?
Well, it looks like he signed it himself, so.
He would sign it, but Tracy would have to sign it. I think it's just a matter of making sure that we,
I think she can only one.
and what's the number on that?
1675 is the yearly,
Okay. So that way we know what to put in the spending plan.
but it's usually more than that, because there's parts and stuff that,
Right.
Yeah.
that's it.
In terms of correspondence, an email came in from the operations manager of the Ultimate Disc. They were looking at a date and wanted to figure out the costs to hold a youth tournament, U17, August 10th or 11th. I don't know if you have anything scheduled at that
I
time.
have to check where, just a one day,
It's a one-day event. It can be either day.
should be okay. I know Stefano has what do they want, one field?
No, 5 fields. They'd like more, but all we have is 5. Cool.
I know he has his 2 one-week camps.
Did we approve that?
I thought we did.
I didn't see it.
I
And
believe we
documentation.
did, because he had sent a letter, and then we got a follow-up letter from I'm not sure who they come from Town Hall, making sure that the dates were available and that he was all set to schedule his camps.
I don't think
Remember
his camps are on a weekend,
They're typically not.
so that might work before the fall season starts.
Can we tentatively pencil those in so that the ball can get rolling?
What were the dates for the camps?
I don't have them on my phone.
But
It was one in July and one in August.
They're typically Monday through Thursday.
So the question is, when are we rolling out? We still have to get this all approved, the fee schedule, so.
Has that been put
No, we're
given
gonna-
to the board? Okay.
Well, without going too far down the road, that was, I'm wondering if we could just earmark and let him look at it. So we give them a pencil in case they're filling out the forms and whatnot.
So
Tentative?
when they run their camps, they use just one field, and then when they do their tournament, they use all 5 for that day?
Okay, 2 different issues. One, the camp is a soccer club, and they use one small area, one field basically.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Usually it's 3, may end up being 1 if you're rotating. The Ultimate Disc Championships would be, they'd use all 5 fields. They would modify 5A
Yep.
and 5B and make that into a shortened field.
Okay.
And the other correspondence we got today, or was it yesterday, is Mo from Sphinx Soccer Academy about space for the summer.
What soccer cap?
Sphinx Soccer Camp, is a
Sphinx.
new program.
Saw that.
So, we typically rest the fields. How many fields was he looking for?
He's seeing what's available. We usually rest 1 field. There had been a rotation where they, DPW would, I think last year it was field 4, was rested and reseeded or overseeded. The year before it was 3. So this year would typically be 1 or 2, depending on the condition of the field. But we can reach out to Mo and see how many fields.
fields he needs?
Okay.
So that's still gonna fall under the per player?
Well, it's all part of the bigger package, because not everything fell under a per player before.
Like
Like
by
Buffalo
large.
Arts,
Yeah.
when Circus
Which I hear
Marcus,
not coming back this year.
Really? Oh, I think Tiger's on the 2. Where are they going? Huh.
but, well, anyways, Buffalo Arts or when Circus Marcus, there was a set fee for the day or 2 days to see.
Yeah, but he's looking for not just a day or 2.
He's looking for a camp. and that's what they run, just run an academy, they don't run a summer, league teams, they just do camps. So we don't know.
Okay, so we have to ask them how many fields, how long.
Let's talk about it, so, and then start the conversation, okay.
Are you still doing all the scheduling for this?
Well, yeah, it hasn't been very much because basically they block off the whole day, so I just put them in.
Okay. And anybody else has correspondence? Okay.
Yeah, they just turn on the ventilation system.
We approached this earlier, but it is not on the agenda, but it is time sensitive about the porta potties.
Yeah, so I thought the idea was to just keep them an extra week to make sure that the field house was up and running and then just get rid of the ones except for the handicap.
Someone, either you or Tracy, was saying that we should get rid of them so that they're not seen out there and people know that the building is open.
That wasn't me.
Ms. Tracy.
Some people have complained that they're still out there.
I
But
think until
we
we
didn't-
have a consistent schedule with the house, that we can't get rid of them.
if
Yesterday, they weren't
you
gonna
can
open.
guarantee
Okay.
that, you know, DPW's gonna open and close the place, we'll just zap it out.
Right,
But the other part about it is,
I wouldn't move again.
yeah,
Yeah.
what,
Talk to the town
I think that Mark and I were out there cleaning up one day, and I think having one there, the guys that show up in the pickup truck, they're landscaping,
Use it.
they would use that instead of going inside, so it's probably not a bad thing. I don't know.
Why is the
we have-
handicap one there?
okay.
Why do we need to?
Look, can I explain
Yeah.
the whole picture? There are two different issues going on. One issue is, in our original document, field use policy, because we have a bathroom, a field house available for the teams weren't supposed to be supplying new ones. There are two there now. Those are requested from them because the field house technically wasn't open and we didn't have a key system in place. So they should be removed. I've asked Mike about those, if we could move them, and he wanted to keep them, so we didn't have another snafu as we did in the, was it first week of April? When you came to the rescue and opened the gate and there was one bathroom for all the events. So that's what they put those in under their own expense.
So who's they?
Triton Youth
Schools?
Lacrosse
Okay.
and Triton Youth Soccer, each
I
put
thought
one
we
in.
determined that it wasn't taken out of, I mean, we're still following the old,
No, that was passed by the Board of Selectmen, that's been in place for about a year now,
the
the policy.
No, we just passed it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The field
That
house.
field house,
Ah.
not the playing fields.
Okay,
Those were part of the playing fields, because that had been in place before there was even a building there.
right.
but that's
That-
what we just passed.
The field house, the
Yeah.
field, there was nothing in there about porta potties.
I believe
Actually,
there is.
there is, it says, the Recreation Committee, as a courtesy to other patrons, will leave a handicap accessible porta potty for those who are visiting the property during hours that the field house is not open, basically from 3 to 8. That the language that was in the agreement to our users and in the guiding document, we took out they need to supply, each supply one.
Right.
Yep.
So they don't need to, they never.
No, they didn't, and they just put one in because of that snap.
They wanted to prevent that from
Right.
happening again.
Right.
Okay.
So then they were gonna take them away, and we asked them to just wait one more week
To see if,
to make sure that we had.
I- I read it as,
Keys?
not the keys, that we the way I read Mike's email was to make sure that there was sufficient bathroom space
No,
for,
it was to make sure that
okay.
people didn't get locked out of the bathroom and then have nothing.
Right.
It was just,
That's
let's
where I-
get
that's where I
through
read his email.
one more week.
Do you want, we can reach out to soccer and lacrosse tonight and have, they can.
But now everybody else is saying, wait until we have a secure unlocking.
I would wait until you have a good system to unlock and lock the
I mean,
bathrooms before you remove any
Okay.
the
toys.
intention is not for them to keep them and pay for them. The intention was always for us to supply the one.
Correct.
And so that was very nice of them to pony that up. And the intention is to get rid of them as soon as possible and just have the one
Have one,
handicap one. That was always,
agreed.
I'm just gonna pop this over there while she's here.
Yeah.
She'll do hers.
So in that case, we can reach out to them and let them know that we're working on a solution to make sure that the field house is open on a regular basis for their practices and game schedule. And after that's been secured, then we can move forward. Along those lines, Dave is supposed to pick it up anytime, and look for someone who's gonna replace it, because we stay with the same contractor, more local, who can respond better to the event crisis. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Wilkinson?
Wilkinson seems to be, I talked to him and he seemed to be able to come down in a situation.
His cleaning date would be, day is Tuesdays. So-
But we could, if there was an issue, he would show up because
Yeah.
he's on the island. It's not like trying to get some,
Isn't he on
He's local and he'd be able to respond.
I thought he told me he was on the island, but maybe he isn't.
Plumbers Lane?
Okay.
So we may have overlapping bills between Dave's and Wilkerson.
Yep.
Okay, that would resolve that. Moving up to old business fee scheduling.
So there's that document that I'm sorry, I haven't been out straight, I barely had time to pull together
It's in the car. I printed it last night.
documents.
Okay, I'm just looking, I'm not, I don't vote, so you have to just,
For you to put in,
I didn't know.
it's basically the same thing I wrote 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't really change it.
So the question is, when I was looking at that, Tier 3, Triton Regional School is for free?
Yeah.
I don't, I
They-
literally don't remember.
There has been a mutual understanding that if they needed to use our fields to make something happen, for example, field hockey, they have a turf now, but if one of the backfields was flooded and they couldn't get that extra JV game in the back, that we would offer them ours space, if there's space available.
The only reason I questioned that was just that it wasn't on any of our policies and procedures. So does that, I guess my question is, when you say Triton Regional School, that has nothing to do with the Triton soccer, Triton field
That's
hockey?
correct. In reciprocity, they've let us, and I'll say this past weekend, also just got to use down there, if it happens. So
Yeah,
it's not meant to be a weekly occurrence.
it's just a stopgap.
Stopgap.
Awesome.
They have a release valve.
Okay.
The show will go on.
Yeah, I looked through it, looked good. That was my only question, I saw
I
that.
would really reread it, because I literally did not have time.
I read it in the supermarket, in line.
I guess I thought maybe we'd Google Doc it and kind of run through it real quick, but we gotta get this in front of them sooner rather than later.
Yeah, there's a language things that I'm not crazy about. I know what the intent is. Do we want to go through that? Do we want to sit down? I mean, how extensive do we want to go?
Well, we need to get it out, right?
Yeah, and I thought that it basically, went and lined up everything, why we're gonna do it.
It's just our next meeting's June, and by then
Yeah.
we're pushing the envelope on getting this done. I'm already questioning if we're gonna get this done right.
Yeah, that pretty much covers what I thought when I read it. Have you seen this? Do you wanna see it?
I think I did read that.
Is she crying?
Peer review, there's no grade. As I tell my students, you did more than,
No, we can read through it real quick and then I can re-edit it and
Is this just to give the
Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen a little heads up?
Yep.
Yeah, and then it doesn't, it's not like it's a policy.
Well, it is a policy, it's a request to do a policy change.
Yeah, but it's not the policy.
no. But it'd be some of mine, and I don't want to sound nitpicky, but some of them are not necessarily accurate statements, and I like to be as accurate as possible.
What is
Well, then-
inaccurate?
Yeah, I'll bring that up.
We don't rent out the fields, we have them available for non-exclusive use, because rent has a different period.
All right,
different-
where are you?
The first sentence is chunky. And that's we're renting out the fields, and then in the second,
So what
sentence.
are you saying? What do you mean?
Is sufficient to a place for, instead of renting, we'll provide non-exclusive use. In the first sentence itself is,
In an ongoing effort to reevaluate the different policies and procedures currently in place.
That's the second sentence.
Oh, this.
actually, I would start before that, actually, the wording, but I would just say in an ongoing effort to reevaluate. It's either ongoing effort to evaluate, or in 2016, the NRC began the process of reviewing its policies and procedures.
I'll just put it out, that's fine.
Its policies and procedures. And to determine, because that's what we're currently in place would be sort of redundant. That's what we're evaluating, we're not,
Yeah, that's
and determine if any updates are needed, period. Then I would start a sentence, the result was the new field use policy handbook and playing field in any other book. And then it'd be, the third sentence would be, the focus now is to determine the fee structure for enumeration or whatever, or you can go back to, take it renting out.
All right, so let's compromise that. We're gonna do evaluate, we'll leave the rest of it the same, and you said for providing what?
Where are we?
Fee structure in place for providing, and then I didn't get to write down everything you said. Providing,
Make available for non-exclusive use.
in place for. Did you say providing?
Providing, available for non-exclusive use.
That doesn't make sense. Focus to the fee structure in place for providing the field for non-exclusive use?
Yes.
Okay, that's.
I think for the Board of Selectmen, the shorter the better. Clear and concise.
All right, I can rewrite it and resend it out then,
Okay.
because I don't think we're gonna be able to.
I think 3 paragraphs would be plenty.
Well, I think Selena's doing a good job of setting the stage of why this is happening. And I think it's important for them to see the steps
Yeah,
that has been taken. And it may be a little chunky, but they can read it way beforehand.
they'll
Do-
read,
do
they'll
we-
get it, we get our agendas 5 days beforehand
Yeah.
anyway, so
Oh,
everybody
fine,
goes
fine.
through it to read it, so we will do it, but I'm just telling you based on experience,
Yeah.
short, sweet.
So,
yeah.
question for you is, someone's gonna present this to you
Okay.
guys.
Yeah,
Mike said he was
I
gonna do
think
it.
when the fee schedule does come before the board, it'd be nice if somebody could be here and explain the rationale.
Yep.
So that's why,
And that's what this
more
would be.
so, it's short and sweet, you know.
But I think some of it is if you have some pre-knowledge walking into it, there's not gonna be as many questions. And if you do have questions, we know where you're coming from. My question, my question with substance as opposed to the details, and I can get some information out to you about other stuff, is I'm concerned about somebody wanting to host a large music festival, if that's only per hour, because we're paying $1,000 for the day, which on both ends of it, they're allowed to set up early and take down. If they rent it for 24 hours at the $15, we're only bringing in $700 or something dollars.
Yeah, there should be something that says if it's for an exclusive day, then the price goes up.
And this is sort of when the
I think there is a sense in there, where does that say at the very bottom?
reserves the right to evaluate case by case.
Yeah,
Right,
That's kind of broad, and that doesn't,
but that's good that it's broad.
yeah, you should stay broad in that statement,
Yeah,
because then you can get caught in a specific situation where you're gonna have to charge somebody $1,000 because it's a one-day event if you really get specific.
Didn't we calculate that it was roughly equal?
here's where I'm having some of my struggle. I see a difference between somebody wanting to use town property to generate income for their profit, if you will.
How is that any different than
Can-
GPS?
Okay, can you let me finish? On a one-day event versus somebody who wants to put in, say, the movie Vietnam Wall, would they be paying the same $1,000?
But
Well,
that's
that's
why
why-
it says on a case-by-case basis, it's because you can
And-
evaluate that.
Who makes that decision?
We do, it says right here, the Recreation Committee reserves the right.
I struggle with that we're not clear. I looked at other policies, like the waterfront in Newburyport. If you have between this many people and this many people, this is what you pay. If you're in, we have very clear, concise payment schedule.
yeah, but that's the waterfront you report.
Yeah.
Well,
But the other thing
Much
is,
different.
Mark, you have open fields, who's gonna stand there and count heads?
that's why, I'm not saying do it by head. When the subcommittee came out with their original proposal, almost 2 years ago, it was, like $1,000 a day. Weekends was even higher, and then it was 5,000 for,
On weekend.
Memorial Day.
for
Holiday
Holiday
weekends, right?
weekends.
Yeah.
And I agree that that's too high, because when you factor in the emergency personnel required for any large event, it just makes it cost prohibitive. My concern is people want to do a small camp, and they pocket the money, and again, GPS, you can be in the same different categories. They're providing not a one-day event, they're providing a service for multiple days. I'm looking at the one-day event that comes in, sets up shop, and runs it.
So
Again,
what
by
do
the-
you want
They
to
would-
be
Well, we-
more
we-
or less?
I think there should be a set fee for, if you wanna use the facility, here's the fee, like the Byfield Arts Festival, Music and Arts Festival. We have been charging double their rent, or, excuse me, their fee, from 500 to 1,000. I think 1,000 is reasonable, if, and that'd be fine.
So your
That-
what is your suggestion?
Well, I'm just trying to get some information. When we put the proposal together for the field house, that was predicated on us generating more income to support the expenditures associated with the field house. And those were on average like $10,000 a summer plus. I don't have the document in front of me. But the numbers we use there are very different than the numbers we're using here. And I understand we need to reevaluate because of the changes that the police department, the fire department instilled upon large events. But that sort of, how do we generate?
So do you want to have like a tier one, like you have here, tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then have a separate schedule for like events? Am I understanding you correctly?
I'm wondering if it should still be open like we had it before, just so that, let's say that there was a carnival that wanted to rent the field. You know, the price for them would be, I think that we should charge someone like that, like if it was a, you know, one of these carnival groups that come in and run the Ferris wheel, we charge them higher money than if we were, you know, if the Boy Scouts
Because
wanted to
they're
have a.
for profit.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
So,
But-
so let me just,
That'd be so cool to have Ferris wheel.
anytime a profit or non-profit group comes to rent the field for a day, for a one-day event, do they go through us for the approval?
No, there's two approval process. One, they have to reserve the space with us.
But they do go to us for an approval, yes, okay.
For, or they can, or some have actually gone first to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, but it ends up here for a final approval, is that right?
No, Board of Selectmen get
Okay.
special events.
So do we have to have an open discussion about every event that comes? Okay, so while we're having that open discussion, that's when we can determine what the price should be, so that we can say it's a carnival. So we're not gonna let them have it for $1,000, we're gonna charge them $2,500. It's the Salisbury Boys and Girls Club that wanna do a raise and fund event, so we're gonna let them have it for $750. That's what this says on the bottom. It says the Recreation Committee reserves the right to evaluate case by case. It can't be more clear.
so are you looking for like a scale? Is that what you, in your sort of your thought process on that, would you wanna have, you know, a weekend could be from 650, 700 up to 5,000, or, you know, somewhere in that, is that what you're envisioning, or?
I would think there should be a slide
Yeah,
that if you fit this category.
You wanna see dollars on this.
I wanna see dollars because I don't wanna be the one who says, I'm charging you 500 and I'm gonna charge you 10,000. What's the difference? You're a nonprofit, well, I'm a nonprofit too.
But that's what the committee, that's the nature of the committee is. I mean,
Then
that's
put it
why
in
it's,
paper.
it's
Put
more
it-
than one person.
Put it in writing,
Well, it is in writing, it says right there.
put the numbers in writing. I
Yeah, but
don't,
I don't recommend, you do what you want, I mean, I don't recommend that you put numbers on there.
No.
I think you're boxing yourself in, and I think as long as you're consistent with how you,
then we need guidelines to make it consistent.
you got, the guidelines are up there.
The-
The tier ones, tier twos, because that tells you what your guidelines are.
So are you suggesting that we go by the per hour?
I'm suggesting that you give preferential treatment to whoever it's
Yeah.
like, don't have it in front of you.
Yeah,
Right, so those things.
for
and then
one day
any-
event. Event
Yeah,
being,
if they're,
well,
let's see.
yeah, I mean, the whole, and that would be another situation, if we did something like that. Byfield Arts are run by Newbury residents. Now, other people come in and use it, but they're Newbury residents, so under this thing, it would be free, but we can't do that. We have to, you know,
But
we
they're
have.
not-for-profit,
Yeah,
so it's different.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you want a schedule of events, type things, you know, one-day
Hourly,
events,
yeah.
2 days events, and just, I wouldn't even put it hourly, I'd put a flat fee.
well, that's part of what I'm getting to, a flat fee of, if you are in this category, if you're using this for a fundraiser versus, and I haven't figured out the definition of it yet, but there's a difference in my opinion, of a carnival coming in, setting up shop, not that they would because of the irrigation, but setting up shop and charging people money to come in is very different than, I'll give you an example. I was talking to a sports group that wants to come in and do free clinics. They're not charging the kids anything. Why would they want to pay something?
Okay, so let me just ask you, Mark, if you were gonna put a scale in place, what would the scale be? Would it be $700 to $5,000? Would it be $700 to $2,500? What would the scale be? Because it's irrelevant what the scale is, we're still gonna have to sit down and discuss
agree.
whatever that range is, what they're gonna pay. So if you put down a scale, we're limited on one end. Like you just said, if you didn't want a carnival to come in, it's okay, you wanna come in here, you're gonna charge people, we're gonna charge you $10,000. If you put a scale, you've limited yourself, number one. Number two, there has to be a discussion. I could see if you wanted to do a tier, we do this, this, and this, it's explicit. But if you're saying we're gonna have a scale from $750 to $5,000, what's this difference of sitting down and taking it case by case and assigning a fee?
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna discuss
also, I
that,
think that-
$750 to $5,000.
I think that different groups can come in and argue with you. You know, GPS, for example, they could argue with you that they do free clinics for Triton. They do free clinics for Newbury kids, Salisbury kids, Raleigh kids. So, you know, and yet they're still paying to use the fields for those times that they're running free clinics. So I think that you know, no matter what you put in there, there's a way around it. There's always
I
gonna
think
be a way
it's
to
better,
argue
it's
it,
better to keep it broad.
case by case.
You're not handcuffing yourself to anything.
So, do we put a tier, and not a tier, a category of one-day events?
I
Because
thought we had
then,
already,
here in tournaments, events at $15 an hour.
Is that a 20, you don't charge them for 24 hours, do you?
Once they're leaving their equipment, stuff and it's blocked off.
Well, that's only $360, that's for one field. So are they,
Who's they?
the $15 an hour people,
Okay,
whoever
so
they are?
Backfield Arts doesn't use, might use part of field two, but they got all the parking.
But they also have alcohol there, so we can't rent to anybody else. They typically reserve the whole field, the whole.
So are we saying that they have to reserve all 5?
Well, we can't have them serving alcohol and children playing soccer all in the same.
so the rest of the field, the other fields are closed at the time that they're
So
there.
it's $1,800 for 5 fields for 24 hours at $15.
So that almost doubles what they.
But
would
again,
do.
it's a case by case, isn't it?
Yeah, we could also say it's 12 hours is our time frame. So we could divide that in half and say it's $950, you know, or $900.
Well, again, I think a group that comes in and serves alcohol and it limits you from using the rest of the fields should pay the full fee as if they were renting all five fields
Which is
for that.
Are they
Which is
charging
pretty
for
much on
the
par.
alcohol?
That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Yes.
Or even if they weren't charging.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so it's a big profit for them,
Correct.
yes? I really don't know, I'm just asking. And I think that these are things that we would keep in mind when we go
Exactly.
case by case is, you know, what are they taking and where is that money going to?
Well, that's sort of proprietary information in the business. You know, that's why I'm reluctant to say it's a case-by-case basis, because then we're open to, why did you charge this group this and this group differently?
Well, let's say that group came in front of us and said, you know, we're expecting, we're gonna have, let's say it's not Byfield Arts, it's Raleigh Arts, and they came in and they say we wanted to rent the fields, and they presented to us, we'd say, what are you expecting for people? And they said, you know, we wanna know an upper limit, and they said 500 people, then we know that it's a money-making thing for them.
Right.
And also keeping in mind that all other fields are closed because they're serving alcohol.
I think there's a little bit of, there needs to be a little bit of a shift here. As much as we appreciate our users, they're the lessee, we are the lessor. We are the one in charge of the field, and we are the one who mandate how fields get leased out. And so we don't always have to,
Right.
you see what I'm saying? Trying to shift the dynamic a little.
Well,
Okay.
but I also think that to say that you charge this one 5,000 and you charge this one, you know, 750. I think when you deal with things on a case by case and you have 5 or 6 people, intelligent people on a board that makes a decision, then if that person comes back and asks that question, why did you charge me this and charge them that, we're gonna have an answer for them. Because that was part of the discussion, and there's a reason that we established that price. And we can say to them, here's the 5 reasons we established the $5,000 price, and here's the 5 reasons why we didn't charge them the $5,000 price.
And I think
That's
you
the case
evolve
by
too
case.
as you go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You'll refine it each time.
Right. Yeah, and so that's the case by case issue, is that there are things that we will discuss and say, it's a profitable organization, and they're gonna sell alcohol, and they're gonna, you know, whatever, make $2.50 a can of beer or whatever, so we can substantiate why we've charged that fee. And that's part of the case by case presentation.
I see Mark's point. I do see his point, because again, I think that I like the idea about, you know, making a determination on what event it is, but I could see his point where, let's say, we let Byfield Arts do it for X amount of dollars, and then someone else comes in down the road that's pretty close to them, and we charge them more money, and then now now we.
But are we gonna be that drastically off?
Right, but why would we charge them more money?
No, I'm just saying,
Well,
you
why
don't
would-
know, but you never know.
But
But what's the matter
that's
with
the
that?
consistency that we're talking about, is we
Yeah.
would know, because if we were gonna charge them more money, we'd have a substantial reason for it.
And you have to keep a file and keep records and say, well, you know, because, and was it gonna never happen? No, it's going to happen, but it's gonna not be every daily occurrence. I just think you're better off keeping it broad.
Especially in this presentation. This is really just an acknowledgement and to extend some knowledge to the.
Right, but I think that should be the policy of the committee too, is that we'll take them on a case by case basis.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I think.
So in the case of ultimate disc wanting the field for 5 fields for one day from 8 to 4,
Yeah, how are you gonna price that?
how do you do that?
Mhm.
What's the basis, where do you start that conversation?
What, oh, that's, well,
Start
that's
at the $15.
$15 an hour one, and you
And-
said,
What is Ultimate Frisbee, where they're an outside organization with no Newbury participants?
Do they
Right.
charge?
No, they don't
Yeah,
charge.
do they
Okay.
charge an entry? Yeah.
No, no
Are they-
entry fee.
So
Just
there's no entry fee, so
Yeah.
it's a free event for everybody.
anybody
They're not
can,
making
no,
any
okay.
money.
Well, understand entry fee. People are allowed to go on and watch the event. They have teams coming in from around the state.
Right.
To high school teams.
Are they paying
Triton
a
would
fee?
be invited, they don't have a team. What's that?
Are they paying a fee?
They might be paying a
A tournament fee.
A tournament, because you need to pay for the field, so it's that, if he says,
So
we
what
give
did
you
you
the
say?
fields for free, then they don't have to charge.
12
So-
times 15 times 5 fields is $900.
Okay,
And how many teams?
don't know.
Well,
Does that
that's
matter?
a lot of
But
games.
but it doesn't matter, because they're gonna have all 5 fields anyways. So
Right.
they're gonna ones that are gonna have to organize their games, it's just like AAU tournaments,
So
all
about
over the country,
$1,000.
you know.
So if you divide $900 by $35, that's 25
Teams.
teams.
Okay,
That's not a lot.
I'm not saying it is.
No.
What I was trying to do is give an example of one, how do we figure this
I mean,
out?
I think Triton would pay $50 for their team
But
to be
Mark-
able to join a tournament.
Yeah.
But Mark, I think we just gave an example of how to figure it out. That's
Okay.
how the process will work, and that's how we'll get better at it, and that's how we'll be able to substantiate the fee.
And this is the time and the place to have this discussion.
But
That's
except-
all, I'm getting it out on the table so that we're all in agreement.
Because I think we're not gonna be able to figure out every scenario now.
Right.
We'll have, it's gonna be a learning curve, and we'll probably make some mistakes
Right.
along the
Okay.
way, and
But that's
Oh,
okay.
Okay, but what we need to consider when we make these determinations is the impact the police and fire detail have on those final costs. Because our original fee was $500 for Memorial Day weekend. And when Lacrosse was doing it, they weren't paying, because it was never asked of them, for police or fire. So they paid the 5. And then then the police said, wait a second, we need to have a detail here, fire needs to be present. That doubled the price of it.
Hmm.
So now it's basically 500 on Memorial Day weekend, because it's double time, and the rules have changed. It used to be per hour, now it's 2 4-hour shifts if you do 8, and after 8, it's per hour at a fee ranging from $50 to like $80 an hour. So,
I understand it,
Yeah.
I've rented gyms where you have to have a trainer there, an ambulance there, a fire person there,
Yeah.
and a police officer there. But that doesn't impact what you pay for the gym. That impacts the fee that those people ultimately, it will cost them to do the total package. So you
Yeah.
still pay the fee for the gym, and
Agreed.
those people understand that if I'm gonna rent that gym on that day, I can remember at Triton, we did cheerleading competitions where there would be, the place would be full, there'd be 35 teams, and you'd have to have all those people there. But the people who were renting that facility at the time knew that going into it.
agreed.
So that shouldn't impact what our fees are, because they have to pay
Right,
for other
same thing with the
details.
marching band program.
Exactly.
So my daughter does the tournaments, so she has a Memorial Day tournament, and it's $161 a player to be in the tournament. So I think
So-
per team, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna step on myself.
That's a lot. How many players are on the team?
on what team?
But does that matter?
GPS.
No, we're just getting an idea on,
Everything okay?
What
They
kind of,
can afford to pay for it.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
I mean,
I'm
it's
trying to say.
nominal what they're paying us. It's maybe $1 of that $161 is what they're contributing towards renting the fields. I think we'll figure it out, and if it doesn't work, then we can always readdress it.
Right. This isn't really a policy, I mean, the fee schedule is gonna be a fee schedule, but you've already said that this is gonna be up for changing it, and you
Well,
reserve the
we're
right
not
to.
really gonna hash this out until we know the Board of Select, I mean, part of the reason of getting this in front of the Board of Selectmen, if they say, no, we don't like it, then I'm not wasting
I
any
don't-
more time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for the board, but this hasn't been looked at since 2006, maybe? Two?
No. There was a document in 2009 that referenced it, where it was $25 per player.
So it's been 10 years since this is like the fee schedule.
No, I don't know when the last time, because I remember lacrosse was paying $30 a person within the last 8 years, and now it's 35. So we don't know when that change came, but we can definitely say, since when we started, there hasn't been a change. It's more important that we're looking at not the dollar amount, but the per hour amount, and that's more
I think
important to
that
emphasize.
when you come before the Board of Selectmen, it has to be very clear and concise, it has to be what it is, why you wanna do it, and what are you gonna do about it, and what your recommendations are. And if you can keep that,
I think we pretty much have it, we
Yeah.
just have to figure out the details of the calendar and the details of the cancellation policies.
yeah, we can't, yeah, but
But that, I don't want to spend time on that until I know that this has been approved.
right,
I'm not gonna.
Right.
Though we are running out of time, we need to make a decision about the calendar, we need to get that up and running, and trained. All right, so I will revamp this and tweak it.
Is there a motion on the floor to revamp this and tweak it, or
This
is
isn't,
this just an open discussion?
this is just open.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, you're not moving anything, you're not
Right,
getting.
yeah.
So we did already brainstorm Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D for these type of events. So we did that on the smart board,
Okay, do you have,
whatever screen.
I wasn't here at that meeting?
We did it, we've gone over it a few
Yes,
times.
you've been here, I've been here.
Yeah.
Which one?
So it starts off, it's this whole line that we've
Okay,
done. And it's
facility.
shared with all of you.
Yeah,
It's a Word document, a Google document, we all have it. But we've already started to brainstorm Group A, B, C, and D. And we talked about cancellation and refunds.
I see that part.
Which
Is
one?
that on the website, the town website?
No.
so you
This
want
is
me to
not-
coordinate
not-
this
Yeah,
with
because
this?
I'm looking for that.
Well, we can, I mean, if that's what we're still gonna go with,
Can I see that document, please?
sure.
Because isn't that is this what we already submitted to the Board of Selectmen, this part?
We've selected it in parts, so we've selected the first two parts already, and then now we're down to that third part, coming up with the
Okay.
price policy, price.
Because this is, see, all this is new. Porta potties,
I don't think so.
this was, I haven't had any of this. This is,
So we have a,
because we wouldn't be talking about bathroom facilities as determined by Newbury Recreation Committee on the number of kids.
Yeah, remember, even last week, we talked about it
I-
again, and we took out the 200.
I wasn't
and
here
300.
last week.
Oh, no, but this is something that we brainstormed together prior, and then last meeting, we took out, remember the 200 and the,
Right.
because you guys were like, where did those numbers come from? And that's what went to the board already, is
Not-
that part already.
well, this
So-
is on the town website right now,
Yeah,
is the Town of Newbury, Massachusetts Plainfield and Facility Permit Policy, revised, approved and adopted by the, was revised on 1/3/2018 and approved and adopted by the Newbury Board of Selectmen on January 9, 2018.
Right.
So that's on here,
and what does it end with? Can you see that document?
yeah. It ends with,
Can I see that?
use of permit, here. Right.
Use of permit. 2019. We revamped, remember we redid the numbers so it would align. Reserves the right.
So I think that's the most recent one that we just approved, that Damon said he was conditional,
Yes,
and he hasn't read it yet, so that it has not been uploaded yet onto the town website. I'll add it to my list. Is that right?
it's
Yeah,
supposed to
Sounds
be.
like-
something just got canceled.
That's supposed to be for the building, correct? Or just, or the fields? Right.
That's for the fields.
This is, what you have is for the fields.
The last part, yeah. So the formatting is changed on here. Oh, this was revised and this is the one 2018.
Right,
So no, this is, so remember we just, what was it, last meeting?
March 11th, the Board of Selectmen approved, conditionally approved.
that's what I'm saying, that conditional approved one has to
Be uploaded.
Upload.
upload it and supersede this
Okay.
one.
Right.
And then,
That's on
I
the list.
just can't pull it up on my phone right now.
But there's the fee schedule on here, is still the old schedule.
Right.
The fee schedule's on the application.
Right.
It's not referenced at all in the
The
guiding
plain
document.
field permit application, that's where I
Right.
saw it, yeah.
I'll fix the tiers, 'cause
Okay.
that was way old. When
Yeah.
I wrote this in like,
A year, 2.5 years ago.
I'm glad you dusted it off.
dug it up.
Because what was sent to, to Ellen, she needs you to reformat it.
Again?
No, when you originally, that's what.
Right, and I did.
Okay.
Is there anything else you have to talk about that? Can we move on?
Yeah, can we move on and we'll discuss that later. Spending plan, did anybody create any type of document so that we have guidelines for the upcoming season?
A what?
Spending
I have
plan?
not.
Spending
No.
plan,
I have not.
okay. We all received a document from Tracy back in January. Sort of as a department, all the departments were given this document to fill out in terms of if we're hiring somebody, people, what we're doing for spending. It's somewhat important so that we can appropriate the funds, encumber the funds now, and that we can go into the new year knowing what we have as discretionary spending.
I thought we were approved for $50,000. Is that,
Yeah, but what he's saying is how you gonna spend it.
Right.
And most municipalities state government, you sort of outlined where that money's gonna go before the year starts, it's not after the fact. And that way we can say, oh, we have $6,000 that we haven't,
Actually, you know what you're supposed to do? Is do that in January.
as I said, we were given this document in January.
Right.
How long have I known you and we've been trying to do this?
Yeah.
I think that
You and I did it once.
Okay,
Tried to.
so,
I think that this comes down to is, everything we're doing here is new
Right.
with the field house and the
You
cost
guys
of the
have
field
had a
house.
lot on your plate, I'm gonna just say that right now, and you've moved a lot. Gotten a lot of things done, that field house is open, you're tackling this, you've got a new policy. But as far as the budget goes, if there's something that you want, like,
the idea is, so we can look at our mandatory spending, or
Yeah.
non-discretionary,
yeah,
reoccurring costs, as you'd like to call them, whether it's field maintenance, field house maintenance, et cetera.
yeah, the guy cleaning it and the
And
propane.
if we want to have any type of programming, if we wanted to go to a volunteer day, if we want to spend money on that, that we come into the new year with a plan for the year. Yeah.
So in other words,
and
you would like to see the $50,000, a line item of how you wanna spend that whole
a
thing.
general concepts, and that way we can say, all right, we've accounted for this amount of funds, we have, the extra 10,000 or 3,000, whatever that is unaccounted,
Yeah,
that we could use for a new window that got broken or whatever. But the idea
Yeah.
is we come into the new year with a plan, a course of action.
so why don't you put something together?
I'll
You
resend
already
it.
have something, I didn't know you
Yeah.
did, because we've been working it together. Send it to the group, and then they can, at your next meeting in June, you can set.
And
talk
again,
about it.
it's fluid, because we have a septic bill, which we have no idea what's gonna be.
Yep.
We had no idea what the gas bill,
Right.
with it, now it's recurring, it was 2, now it's 4. Where's that going? What happens during the winter? Because obviously it was running during the winter, I would assume, so are we charged for that?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we just go back to the town and ask for a raise.
Right,
Well, that's sort of it. I think right now it's like
but you gotta justify the raise.
30-something thousand dollars is encumbered already between the mowing and our proposed, some of the required
Right.
spending. So
Right.
what does that mean for summer programming? Obviously, it reduces what we can do in the summer or the fall.
So we need to put together, which should have been done in January, a document stating what
I will-
non-costs.
No, what we need to do, we know what those costs are. our
Right, but we
projected
need to
costs.
put it together.
I will resend the document out outlining proposals. We've gone through this a number of times, what our non-discretionary spending is, and then discretionary.
Okay, didn't you just ask us for it though?
I've sent this out,
Right.
and now we have to look at it and say, you know what, I really don't think that we should spend $15,000 on a new hot air balloon. That we go through it and we look at it and say, here's what we wanna do. Do we wanna spend
Okay, so
money?
the next time what we need is we need it put in front of us right before the next meeting,
Yeah, and,
so
and
that we have it.
the other part about this is that I think our sites have been basketball court, fee schedule, field house, and we haven't been able to look outside of that. We're constrained by these meetings, and we have to come up with all these policies and stuff like that. We can't say, hey, let's set up a volleyball court, or let's do this.
I'm a little confused. Every budget I've ever done, whether it's a school committee budget or a school department or any budget, a group sits down and puts together a proposed budget.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, when you put those things in, you don't take them out, you don't read them out, you put in what you want, what you think you're gonna spend, what you need, what your solid costs are, what your non-discretionary spending is. And then what you do is you put it together a proposal, and then it's presented. And it's either approved for certain things or not approved. And when you get your budget approved, then you go back to the table and you rewrite your actual budget on how you're gonna spend what you've been approved for. So I think what we're looking to do is we're looking to create a proposed budget to present to the Board of Selectmen for them to either approve what we're gonna do, whether it's having a spending for a volunteer appreciation day, or it's putting in a volleyball net, whatever it is, as well as our solid cost. And then we present it to them, and then they either approve the budget as is, they approve us for what they feel we
Yeah,
can.
but you don't do that, you don't do that.
We're already appropriated for $50,000.
You don't do that, the board of selectmen doesn't have that, town meeting spends the money.
Town meeting, okay,
So we've already been allocated $50,000.
okay,
So
So
what
we
you
take-
just said, that statement,
yep. Okay.
snapshot it, save it for January, that's what you're gonna do in January.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, so now, okay, now I understand, okay.
So, but we're
And
behind.
it doesn't come before the board of selectmen, it comes before the
We
town
would
meeting.
come in and
All right,
normally we work with Tracy. I thought this year we were supposed to get 40,000 based on the money that we generate.
We got
But
50,
we
right?
got 50, but at one point the conversation was, is proportion to the amount
so
of
how
money.
did the 50 get
The
allocated?
finance committee,
Yes,
the way it works is the town administrator goes to all the department heads, and when was that, in January? And sends an email out, and I'm not copying on it, but
right,
sends an email to all the department heads and says, you know, to prepare for town meeting,
right. A
come
proposed
give
budget.
me what your
Yep.
wish list is.
Yes,
And then so everybody submits it to her,
okay,
and then she'll sit with either the, you know, the police chief, the fire chief, the head of the rec committee,
right,
whoever,
Yeah.
planning department, you know, conservation commission, and say, you know, why do you need this kind of money?
Right.
And then, and when they formulate the town budget, including the enterprise funds, which is what this is,
yep,
they'll say, they'll go before town, the finance committee and the board of selectmen meet, and they go over the warrant,
right.
and that's when
And
you
they
decide.
pre-vote on the warrant prior to
We
it
vote to
being
put it
presented
on
to
the
the town.
warrant,
Okay,
so if it doesn't come through us, like the rooster thing with the roosters,
right,
we didn't vote to put that on the warrant.
okay,
So that's how the kind of, I guess you wanna call it power, that's the power that the board of selectmen has, and
Okay.
it doesn't have to bring it to town meeting. It still can come up, somebody can make a motion on town meeting floor
right,
if they really want to,
right,
and it has to be seconded and all that
Right.
stuff, but,
In writing.
yeah. And so, but this, for what he's talking about, Mark and I worked on this at one point, we had a budget, it was like a wish list, when the rec committee was first formed. You know, what's the vision, and it was big.
yeah,
It took, you know, Delbra, it took, you know, senior citizens, it took the library, it was big, and do you have it, or do I might have it.
I have it, I'm just trying to see where.
But you should take a look at it again
yeah,
and decide what you wanna do. And then, you know, as long as you can, because it's an enterprise fund, you can generate the money, you can spend the money.
Yeah, it's just
all right,
going back to the fact that we haven't been able to breathe and
Right. So now I think what he's saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, is now that it's May, we just passed the budget, you got 50,000, he wants to see how we're gonna spend that.
okay, all right.
Am I correct?
I think it'd be, not just, I wanna see it, I think it's an
Yeah,
important
so the
step.
committee.
So we're
That we
looking,
know what
we're
we're,
looking to create a line item budget on an unlimited budget of $50,000.
yes.
Okay,
But you need to look at what was approved in the warrant, because there was some items in there
yes,
that were included.
Right.
Like the mowing and all that stuff,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
stuff that gets charged back.
okay.
Okay.
So, I feel like this meeting was just kind of a
Catch up.
around and around. So that we can walk away with what to do next, because I don't know if we got anything accomplished.
I think you did.
You do?
I do.
Okay, so we're meeting again in June, and I'd like to know, we've talked about about getting the calendar online, and we found that they're using the same software for the town. Can I talk to somebody
Yep,
to get us,
absolutely.
who is it?
Susan Noyes, Susan, IT
Talk to
person.
Susan Noyes.
Susan Noyes.
Yeah, and
Okay,
if that doesn't work, you need to go to Tracy Blaze.
okay,
That will
Tracy.
work.
But Susan
That will
should
work.
be able to help you.
Okay, so, and then we're waiting to hear, we're waiting for DPW, they're getting, estimates on putting in a combination lock. So until then, until we get that in, I think we need to, as a group, come up with what is our schedule? How are we going to open and close the doors, and when do we release, the 2 porta potties? Yes?
Well, I think Alicia said that the DPW will take care of the locks of the doors,
Well,
so that's gonna be a
yeah.
proposal.
I was
Well,
gonna
And we're
ask,
sort of out of order, but
Okay,
do you still have an agenda that you're moving on? We haven't got there yet?
there's other things that we can just not deal with and just go to the restrooms, because it's time sensitive, sure.
Well, what I'd like you to do
Okay.
is make a motion to approve, spending, I would guess not more than $750, just to put it out there, of getting a wireless remote access locking system for that, so that you've at least moved the approved expenditure. And then the town administrator can, I know they will try to get keypads, but I want to see if I can avoid somebody having to physically get in their car and drive down there if they can. I know you can do it, I know these things exist, I go on Amazon.com, and if it's on the internet, it has to be real.
Yeah, and it would just, what it would do at that point is would get us away from this.
Yeah,
We lock the
this
door, we
is
didn't lock
way
it.
above and
Yes.
beyond,
Okay,
so,
so I'll make a motion that we allocate, I would say $750 for the purchase of either a Nest system or one of the systems that will allow us to use a keypad from a remote area. But I would also say that we should also allocate another $250 for the installation of that device. And that would be $1,000.
well, yeah, that's what the Nest I saw was $250, so I jumped at the $750 to try to, but I looked quickly at home and I sent it to JR and I said, I don't like it.
Is there a Nest already there
Okay, have a
that
second
one
on that.
controls the heating system?
Second.
Second, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Discussions?
Is there a Nest device there that controls the heating system? Because in order to have the lock through the Nest system, you have to have,
David might know.
a Nest system in place that can be hooked into the internet. It's just like, I have one at my house that I can,
All right, so
Turn
how
my
do they
heat
work,
on,
because
turn
I don't
my
know
heat
how
off.
these work, because I
I
don't
do,
have.
they have to be connected to
right,
internet.
yes.
So that was my question, was do you have to have internet, Wi-Fi at the field house?
I was told you didn't.
We did or didn't, we don't.
I was told you didn't have to have it.
I know a Nest system does require it, because I have one at my house that I can turn my heat off, turn my heat on, turn the air conditioning on, I can set my alarm from a remote system through my Nest system, which is basically my thermostats. I have a 3-zone thermostat in my house. Any one of those,
Yep.
I can turn the heat on, turn it off, talk
And if
to
you
it.
lose internet,
If I lose internet, I can't do that from remote, I have to do it manually.
okay.
Yeah. But that's using the Nest system. There might be one that Comcast has that
Right.
you can do through another type of an alarm system or another type of locking or alarm device. That can be done directly through the internet.
So what do we need to do as a committee? How do we follow through so that at the next meeting, we're not sitting here, okay, did anybody find out about the system?
I thought Tracy Blaze was looking into it.
Can we just have a point person, so one person talks to Tracy about this and so
Why
it
don't you let me
stays-
take this one?
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Is it possible to get back to us on what, when you talk to her, can you find out exactly how she found the doors open?
Yeah.
Because we have been
we
really
still got
good.
another motion on the table that we should probably
Yeah.
vote on, and then we can go to that.
Okay.
So, with that motion, is there any more discussion?
Alicia following up with Tracy?
She'll be our point person, she'll keep us in the loop. Any just, conversation about it? If not,
No.
we can vote on it. All in favor of the proposal, which I will write out, but succinctly, it is $750 for the purchase of and $250 plus for the installation. And then we will have in our spending plan an annual or monthly fee to have the wireless keypad installed at the field house for the bathroom door, correct?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
And in the meantime, for this, until this is installed, what's our schedule?
We still have, what do we have up?
Agenda-wise?
Yeah.
All right, we have the court and raising money for that.
The town administrator was gonna look into options if you guys can raise money. I don't know if it was grant options or what she was gonna do, but she had that on her list. To try to continue to move that basketball.
So that was my question, when it was denied at the meeting,
Voted down.
voted down at the meeting, was the plan voted down or was the money voted
Funding.
down?
Money.
The money, okay, so we are okay, we have approval to go ahead and fundraise, and if we were to fundraise, we could put in the basketball court.
I don't
I
know
don't
if you can
think-
fundraise,
Okay,
because we're a town. The town administrator's gonna look at alternative funding options,
okay,
what that might look like.
so where I was going with the bathrooms, the club, the field house, it doesn't sound like soccer anyway, from the email that Jason sent to us, that they would be using that to sell snacks for the spring season. Would that be something that we could set up to raise funds for the basketball court?
Joe?
I think in the past, I think an organization would have to be set up like the Friends of the
Yep.
Funds of
Yep.
the Basketball Court. A
Yep.
private
They'd have to be the
organization
Friends,
would
you
have to
can't-
do
yeah.
the fundraising. I know from my experience in school systems, the school system can't raise the money, but the Friends of the, or
Boosters,
Booster Club
yeah.
or somebody
And
can
the same
come.
thing,
So the rec committee can't raise the money,
No.
it has to be
friends of the rec committee.
But-
friends of
No,
the rec.
Well, let's be careful
The rec
about-
committee can apply for grants, the rec committee can look for a supplement, other forms of funding through either state or other.
Possibly selling
possible.
sponsorships, that's what she was gonna look at.
Yes,
Can any one of us look into grants?
Oh,
Tracy-
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Public
Okay.
information, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was actually very pleased with how well received the idea was.
right,
Just to go back, the court itself hasn't, I would believe it is, the board of selectmen has to approve
Right,
it. And it's one of those, we're not gonna approve a basketball court unless there's funding. And it's one of those chicken and egg things. So if Tracy was to find a grant for X number of dollars and we apply for it, we'd have more money. And as I said before, there is a donor who's willing to put in $10,000. So we can start amassing the capital or pledges towards it. But we're not fundraising. Does that make, there's a clear distinction.
Right.
So if we were to, if Tracy can look for it, if you wanna look for grants,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
If you get an appointment with her, she's great. I mean,
Okay.
she's phenomenal.
well, it sounds like we need to meet with her anyway, so.
But going down to scheduling software, you'll be taking care of that, Mariah will.
now, are you gonna get a price on that?
Yes, well, I have to talk to Tracy, because I can't get anything through the company unless I give them
Information?
what we already
Sounds
have,
good.
and I don't have that information, so I have to meet with her.
I asked the question when we looked at the scheduling software, there was one particular name,
Right,
and the town does have that software.
right.
You're the captive, is it the, when we were?
Yeah, it was the one we were
Changed,
looking at.
did I forward that
They
email?
got bought
You
out.
did,
They-
yes.
A firm got bought out,
Yeah, so
So-
yes, changed, yeah.
yeah. The fiscal analysis, we should be looking at, I know we've had our conversation about it, but usually there is, if you're making a policy change, number change, there is a projection of what are the benefits of this change financially. So look at how, do we expect more people to be using it? If somebody loses the, if we don't maintain it?
I don't think she has, you included that information in there from what I
I think you've already done all that.
read. Yeah,
A financial analysis?
I
or
think
the-
they have, from a long time.
yeah, because you said to keep it
Keep it simple.
short, keep it simple, but I think you also mentioned in there, she mentioned cost in here as well. Yes,
I think you did, you mentioned about all the surrounding areas and how you look at the.
Yeah.
That's a,
Right. Comparison.
that's a comparison, I'm saying, if we were to keep, and again, I don't wanna belittle this, it's typical in
Well, we did
business.
that when we did the first I mean, I have it inserted in that, but when we did the first calculations,
I think Mike had it on his spreadsheet,
yeah,
Right,
I
that's-
mean, it
Those,
was.
those generate certain,
but that's a fiscal analysis, isn't it? Is that what you were looking for?
what happens if there's a arbitrarily 50% drop? Because here's what I'm,
You can't worry about that, because that's looking into the future, and you can't worry about that. It is, well, the town will deal with it.
okay,
If that's what happens, that's what happens. We can always relook at this, but you can't, it's an if-then analysis. If you decide to cross that, you know, if that bridge breaks, then you fix it.
Right.
But you can't, that's.
Yeah, exactly, and, yeah,
That's
because.
not an analysis, that's an assumption.
Right.
well,
There's a difference.
And if the springtime, the groups come in and they figured out that they only need 25% of the hours they used to grab, and we went on a 100% thing, and we lose X amount of dollars, then in the fall, we boost our rates up so that we get back to square one.
Or you market the hours that they're not
Yep.
being used,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you use the resource that way.
I think that it's a learning, this whole thing's gonna be a learning process.
And the town knows that,
Yep.
Tracy knows
Yep.
that.
Yep.
okay. Volunteer Appreciation Day, I saw in the minutes it was a June 14th date,
That's what we talked about last week.
Right.
okay.
I don't know that we're gonna be able to accomplish.
So now with all the rain, games have been pushed back, so there are games June 14th.
We
It
had
doesn't
we had
necessarily.
4 dry days in April,
Yeah.
that was it.
That was unbelievable.
I don't know if people saw what I sent out today, I apologize
Yep.
for the lateness of it, but the idea, and I don't know which address to use.
I did, I saw it, yeah.
Okay. It could be as big or as small as you want it to be.
Yep.
The idea is there are organizations who help run the government, such as a rec committee or the open space. It could be, other volunteers, whether it's sports groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Friends of the Library. I know there's thousands of hours that are spent helping the Council of Aging, and you can acknowledge the individual for the town and or for an organization, and it's a way to bring people to the field that may not currently go there. And the idea is to spend some money. And it can be.
Well, I think it's a great idea, and I think the Board of Selectmen has talked about it in the past, and I think they were supportive of it.
Mhm.
I saw that, I read the proposal that you had. I think that's way too big to pull off in June.
Well, that is assuming we do it in June.
Yeah.
You could do it at another time, you could wait till the fall
September.
to
You
start
have
off.
to do it in September, and you have to start pushing it now, and you have to line up.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, is if we were to organize it and say we wanna have 2 awards, and it could be posthumously if necessary, one for a person who worked for a committee or a board for the town, and then one for a community member who reaches out and
So
volunteers.
who's gonna give these awards? Board of Selectmen?
We could work with the board of selectmen, it could be from us, because, you know, you can do it. But the idea is that the recreation committee is recognizing that for a lot of these recreational activities, there's a lot of volunteers involved.
Well, I think we've established that June 14th is not gonna be the day, only because of the fact that the fields have been so,
Right.
there's been so much rain that it's so, I think what we should do is look towards the end of the summer when the fields start to loosen up again, before the fall. What's
And do you wanna pay for this out of your $50,000 revolving fund?
Yeah.
How much do you think you'd spend? Well, you have to put it up with
$1,233.
I don't think the rec committee should pay for that. I think it can come out of something else.
If there's money that comes from another budget, that's great, but we could write up the budget to say, here's what we'd like to do. We could offer food, we could have food for
potluck.
sale.
Yeah,
That's what I had said last time, is that we do a potluck, everybody
Right.
brings something.
Right, that's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, because it's celebrating all volunteers, so,
If
you
you
know,
have
everybody
a
brings
caterer come
something.
in and feed everybody.
Yeah,
It costs you more than the whole
Well, that's
budget.
what the fire department used to do their chicken dinner. There are details to be worked out, if we even serve food. But the idea is have try to do soccer, have a game, 2 games, one for at whatever age level they want, for girls and for boys. Offer it to hockey to do something on the fields. We could do a softball game between the fire department and the police
Now, I'm
department.
just gonna throw it out there. I don't wanna be the wet towel on this whole thing, but when I was at the PTA in Trenton, we tried something like this, to get all the teams to do it, and it did not fly.
Well, we have time to work it out, we could talk to the different users and other programs. We could send something out.
I mean, people are, the problem is,
Yeah,
they don't.
can I just make a suggestion? I think when you propose something like this, I think you need to start small.
Okay.
And then I think what happens from there is the first year you start small, and it might be just inviting people to come for a couple hours and you know.
And have coffee, I mean.
Yeah, just have a
bring
potluck, you
coffee.
set up a table, people come, they talk about it, they say how much they appreciate everybody kinda says, someone gets up and says a speech and says thank you. And then if it's really received, and it's received well, then I think the following year you look to start.
You'll
to
have
raise-
buy-in, you'll have.
Exactly.
Do we wanna, okay, but the idea is, and give a presentation to a volunteer or two at the same time?
Yeah, but again, I think like Alicia said, who would do the presentation? Because
Board of Selectmen.
okay, so if it's the Board of Selectmen, then I think that's where the funding, if there's any funding needed at that point, if we're doing a point, that's where the
Well, the
funding.
thing is, it's not just, you'd have to set up a criteria for an award,
Yeah,
you'd have to set up a review committee,
yeah.
you'd have to
I've
set
done
up.
all that, so that's not a problem.
Yeah,
If it's
But,
all-
well, now you're talking about the Board of Selectmen, and we can't meet outside of because of open meeting law, we can't meet, it would have to be done in public, we'd have to review the nominations, I don't know, I think it's too itchy.
I think that's why if you're really gonna have an
Why
appreciation.
don't we not do awards?
I think we
right.
just
Yeah.
celebrate
Just
the
celebrate.
Exactly.
the field.
Exactly.
We
Just-
celebrate the
exactly.
field house being open, everybody come, enjoy,
Thank
open
you.
invitation.
You know, I think, because remember we used to have those coffee hours, we tried to do those, then we moved here and nobody came. So we do have a stipend, the Board of Selectmen does, and, I mean, we could purchase, the lack of a, coffee and munchkins.
Right.
And just come on down and say thank you in the morning and, on a Saturday morning and, or a Sunday.
Maybe we could even do something like have kids bring, I don't know, draw a soccer ball or a football or whatever it is and write down what they love about sports or what they love about the field, and we have a pin-up board, just
Yeah.
something,
You can get white paper plates and some markers and you guys
yeah.
put it over here and.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Yeah.
one of the objectives, the background objectives to this is, I would venture to say that many people in this community don't know all the selectmen.
Right,
They don't know the town administrator.
right.
They'll
They
all
don't
be
know.
there, they can all be
Well, see,
invited.
what we used to do
And
in
the police
Cambridge,
and the
what,
fire.
what we used to do in Cambridge is we actually serve food, and the town manager would serve food, chief of police,
But
and
I
all.
think you
the-
mentioned doing that down the
I
road.
mean, you
Yeah.
can build to that. I know
Yeah.
when I was at Triton, I started the special needs sports program with a baseball team and softball team sponsored kids. And the parents all came and cooked and barbecued. But the first year we started out, it was 15 people having a little softball game.
Right.
3 years later, there was 150 people there, we were barbecuing. Because I think what it is, it's a buy-in, and I think what happens is, all of a sudden, somebody leaves and says, gee, what a great time we had. It was only 25 people, and the next time, when you started out, 75 people show up. And eventually, you might get to a point where you start to set a criteria for a reward. But to come out of the clear blue sky in the first year and say, we're gonna have some rewards,
Okay.
And I think it's too much to figure that out.
So do something small. All right, schedule, we're working on list of supplies. We've asked people to come up with a list so DPW can get,
Well, I was on minutes.
I think there's already.
They've already did it.
Yeah, well done.
It's already,
Take that box down.
do we have the cleat cleaner that's required and the runners?
I don't know, we have.
we don't have cleat cleaners, and we don't have runners.
Okay, so moves to spend that money too, and buy those.
Make it,
Have somebody already
And,
done that?
and I,
no, this was,
in that same boat, can we also add a, A-frame, display sign with the cleat cleaners, so that we can say bathroom open or fields closed?
Who buys these?
They run about, between $30 and $100.
Would
How much is it?
DPW go purchase them, or can I go get them?
What's that?
Does DPW have to purchase them, or can one of us just go to Lowe's
No,
and?
you can go to Lowe's and get it and just submit the bill here.
Okay, I'll go
Get
do
refunded.
that.
did it get,
The only
paper
thing,
sheet right there?
the only thing I would
Oh.
recommend again is that if you're gonna do that, get ones that can be mounted, that would stay stationary, not just the ones that
Yes.
are a block away.
Yeah.
Because somebody will just say, oh, that's nice, and they'll take it home and be on their front porch.
Right, no,
So
I
you'd have
agree.
to have something that's gonna be stationary.
Yeah,
So I make the motion of spending the necessary funds to complete,
It has to
this
be
apply.
done.
not to exceed $500.
Wow,
I second it.
how many runners am I buying?
So you're
Got
gonna buy
necessary
the runner?
funds to
Yes,
You're gonna buy a runner, you're gonna buy a cleat thing,
yep,
cleat cleaner,
And
and a sign,
A-frame.
A-frame,
Sign.
sign.
A-frame.
yeah, and it has to be, the cleat cleaner has to be the one that's bolted down.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna need at least $500.
okay,
not to exceed
Don't spend
$500
any more than
of
$500.
I'm really good at
Supplies.
One second.
the necessary funds to all,
Somebody
seconded.
seconded it.
Any,
discussion.
discussion?
No.
No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Camera, Tracy is gonna work on. QSA was using the concession stand, they're looking at as the manager, or just for like a day rental, or
I'm sorry,
QSA about the tennis,
they don't want so Jason sent out an email, to all of us, and it said that, thank you for the offer, and that it might be too much to do this spring, but in the fall, they would, set up
okay.
a schedule.
So can we go back to cameras for a second?
Yes,
So they're gonna install
who,
cameras,
who's
The,
gonna,
the town,
the town?
are you sure?
Yeah.
yes, Tracy wants to have at least one, suggestion is
Two cameras.
So there may be wireless in there already.
Right, that's my point.
Well, it'll have to be because, the signal will be sent to the police station monitors, so we'll
Let me
know
follow
at
up
that
with
point.
Mike Riley on that and see what we can do about about getting that.
Can I just make one suggestion about the keys? And I know that
Yes.
we have two, you both have keys and you sign for the responsibility of those keys. In the meantime, until we have something resolved, can we go to a key box like you do on a real estate house, just put the key box on there, so we give up one of those keys, put it in a key box, attach it there,
That'd
and
be
everybody
perfect.
knows the code.
But I'm moving down.
Everybody knows, that way everybody can know the code of the key
But why
box.
does it have
So
to
you
go
just go in
in?
and punch the code, it
I
opens, you
have a
take the
box
key.
I can put up there
Oh,
temporarily.
you already have one?
I have real estate lock boxes.
But
Oh, that's
are they type to go on the doorknob,
Yeah.
and will they fit on the,
Well, they won't stay on that, that's the only thing, we're gonna have to
Wait,
find a way to get it
Or to
stationary.
be, does the back door have
Have a knob?
No?
it does, but,
Is it dark back there at night?
yeah.
And your flashlight on your phone?
I will put a key, I'll get a key,
It'll be
I'll take care of
resolved.
it, I'll take care of
This
it
should
Right.
tomorrow.
Oh,
But you
it's
can
gonna
mount
like
it,
it.
just, you can get one,
Yeah.
that, you can mount in the.
I really
Yeah,
like
well,
be. That's
we'll,
my one.
we'll pass
Good,
around.
the rest of the-
And the code will be there, that way anybody
I
can
will
hit the
take care of
code.
that
Just wanna wait for
Okay.
40
tomorrow morning,
hours.
and there'll be a thing.
But that's part of the problem.
Okay,
is
and
where
then
it's
just text me
exploding.
and I'll
That's
let
what
you
I
know.
never had
Right,
6
there'll be a key in that key box
Don't.
all the time, you just punch the
Don't.
code,
I
it
don't wanna
opens up,
ruin
you
your
take the
form.
key lock, you put it
Yeah,
back in.
that's
Shut up on-
And where's the key box?
It'll be right on,
There's
just
none,
on,
right?
just
Is
on the side of it.
So
Uh,
it's nailed,
Yeah.
okay.
The thing was tennis courts, bye Celine, thank you. Tennis courts, Sean, get us the AD last year said that we could open up, he'd have the tennis courts open for us to do stuff with. Do we wanna take that responsibility on? We have to talk to the selectmen and get their approval that we use other people's property. But we could offer tennis to our pickleball to,
There would have to be a memorandum of understanding between the town of Newbury and Triton Regional
Okay.
School District.
is that something that we want to undertake?
I don't know.
I mean,
I mean, there's so many tennis courts available,
Where?
Cashman Park, Newburyport,
Newburyport,
right,
okay.
I mean, if we can get something local and it's just getting someone to do it, that doesn't involve us opening doors for bathrooms.
I think that their staff would be opening up
in the summer.
in the summer, don't they have custodians there? That way they know when it's open and they know when it's closed.
Yeah, no,
Got it.
That's not as easy as you think.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
No, it's not.
but if it's
Yeah,
one of
there's
those,
something-
It's not as
Sure.
easy as one would think.
yeah.
well, you know,
There's gonna
There's a
be,
memorandum of
there's
understanding,
gonna be
it's gonna go
memorandums,
before the
there's
board
gonna
of
be liability
selectmen, it's gonna have to
discussions.
go before the school
Right.
committee,
Okay.
it's gonna
Someone
have
gets
to.
hurt out there, what's gonna happen?
It was just-
It's a liability
Proposed?
issue, it's a nice thought, but it's not as easy as
Okay.
you think.
Isn't it?
something about signs,
We just talked about, just taking care of it.
the A-frame,
The A-frames.
Quick question, back, when we go back, when the gate is open, I had put stakes in there last fall, and the stakes are still there.
Yeah,
Just stapling no parking, you know, the no parking
Yeah.
sign on those so that people don't park on the grass
Yeah.
when that back gate is open.
Yeah.
Do you guys care if I staple those up there?
I think it's the DPW or, yeah, that's great,
Okay,
yeah.
just so that people aren't parking on the grass again or up on the mound?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, they were supposed to, DPW was supposed to, and I can ask them again, create a sign, again, it's gonna come from our budget. A sign that goes at the center post that warns people,
When you go.
do not park on the grass. So please take notice, do not park on the grass. Violators will be ticketed.
Totally.
We got it, cause they'll take it, they like
Because
it.
the idea
And
was,
something on the interior that says no dogs on the field.
well, there,
Isn't there something
There
like
is a,
that?
there on the side, there's something,
no dogs on the field and they're supposed to be on the leash, but they're not. Now, did I send you the picture that people send me?
We have the same issue on Plum Island.
Right, but
Well, what did you do in Plum
but
Island?
the problem is
Monday
there's
night,
no,
ask him.
Fine,
Yeah,
you get fined.
well, the problem is that there's no leash law in Newbury.
Right.
Agreed.
but no,
That's the
no,
problem.
but there is on the fields, it says,
Right.
when you pull up the fields, it says no dogs on fields.
There's,
Right,
Right,
but
but
on
it's-
fields is different than, so a lot of people walk their dogs, including me, through the parking lot
Yeah.
and down back
Yeah,
where the lights are
Yeah,
kept, and
yeah.
then back on that trail.
Yeah.
Um,
That's okay, right?
Yes,
Well, as long as they pick up
right,
their
and-
stuff.
right,
But we've had kids almost face plant in dog
Right.
waste, and that kind of sucks.
On the field,
On the field.
yeah, see, that's.
and I
good.
see dogs out on the field, people bring their dogs to soccer games, and really, it's not that evident that dogs are not. There's, when I go to other fields, it's evident, there are signs, no dogs, no dogs, no dogs.
A-frame.
We really don't have,
Then that's something that we'd have to go to the Board of Selectmen about any additional signage.
okay,
And it might have to go, I don't know if the Board of Health gets involved.
if you get the Board of Health involved, it'd be even easier. They have kind of their own rules.
yeah, I mean, to put a sign, you know, you're fine, if you have a dog on the field, you will,
But
you.
I think a sign is only a limited deterrent. There has to be a policing policy that goes with it. So if, what happens if you put a
Town
sign
has
up?
one.
What happens if you put a sign up and someone walks on the field with their
I'll tell you a
dog?
story about that.
Who's in that, who's there that's gonna say, I'm in charge of keeping the dogs off the field, so I'm gonna speak to you? Is it just another parent that's gonna walk over and say, hey, you shouldn't have your dog on the field? And the person
Right.
can look at you and say, hey, why can't I? I can have my dog on the field, what are you gonna do about it?
Right,
So
The police,
a sign is only a
Police have to
deterrent
do
to
it.
help good people follow the signs. The people who don't care about the signs, probably still they're gonna be the same people that are bringing the dogs on the field.
Or parking in the
So,
grass.
Yeah.
So that's what with the parking, we can go to the police. I
Right.
will write to James tonight or tomorrow, asking them about that sign. Once that's in place, we can talk to the police department and ask them to bring people's attention to it. And I'm sure that once or twice, it's like going
Right.
through Boxford. You go through there once too fast, you'll never do it again.
Well, my suggestion with the problem with the dog waste on the field is similar to the island. If there's a dog, if there's a consistent and if there's a problem, let the police department know.
Right.
They'll step up their policing activity and they will cite, and then that will stop it.
But one other thing too, that this is something that's helped on Plum Island, and I had two dogs, I have one, I walk my dog 3 or 4 times, he's always on a leash, is that if you put a facility for them to be able to take a bag and have a proper trash can, you will see an improvement. So they
Like the
do
Judy
have.
Waltz thing, maybe we could get one
Yeah,
over there.
there's a device, it's not a device, it's a post and it has the bag container on it and it has the waste container
Yeah.
on it. And all the DPW has to do is just change
We
it.
got a dumpster.
we get a
right
dumpster.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
you don't want to
one
throw
reason
in the
to keep the
dumpster, that's
dumpster
the other
year
thing,
round.
you know, it's like, but
right.
you put it in a dumpster in the summertime, you're just gonna
Well,
put
they-
3,
they
4
are.
That's
bags.
Judy Falls that we had on the island, they would come out and
Exactly,
do it themselves.
exactly,
So all we
that's,
need to do
right.
is add another location,
That's it,
Okay,
that's it.
and so that should come before the board of selectmen.
Right, it's
Okay.
just, it's a pole, it has the bags on it, it has the waste container, and they come out and they'll change it, take it away.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we had a really big problem on Plum Island
Oh.
with this.
yeah.
That would be awesome if you could,
I'm gonna put it on my list.
yeah. 'Cause
I know just going to other fields, it's evident, it's everywhere, you know, no dog, no dog, no dog. But at this field, I don't think that it's very
Right.
visual.
And like we were in Linfield the other day, I mean, that solution is solved because it's all AstroTurf now, so no one's gonna bring their dog in the AstroTurf, it just
Right.
doesn't happen, you know, so.
Would we
it's-
ever
it's
talk
different.
about, you know, maybe in the future doing a turf field?
That's right, and that's a turf.
No, it would definitely be something, but we'd have to come up with a lot of events to be able to afford to do that.
Current cost is what, 1.2?
A field?
Yeah.
I thought that was what.
It can be anywhere from 1.2 to 1.7, depending on what your drainage system is and what you really put in for your underlying system. And,
I thought the beauty of those fields was that they were natural fields.
For up
Well-
there, yeah, but we have property over here.
I will say this, as far as having athletes participate on artificial turf, it's a lot less forgiving, and it's a lot more wear and tear. The natural fields to practice on those and just play games on the AstroTurf is probably the safest way to do for athletes. So it's important that you have a practice field and a playing field. The other thing that they're finding out, and this is one of the problems they're having in Linfield, is the AstroTurfs are actually made with a black pellet, which is from recycled tires. And kids are getting them in their eyes, especially the little kids, because they fall down a lot. The bigger kids, when it happens, it's not as, they get equipment on and stuff like that. And when you walk off the Linfield field, it's all over the walkway, it's everywhere, because it doesn't sustain. So there's some disadvantages to the fields as well. So maintenance, of course, you pay up front for your maintenance, and 10 years later, you might have to replace sections of it.
Right.
That's the other thing, they can replace a 20-foot section of the field, roll it out like carpeting, and it looks brand new.
Right.
But there is a front cost, but it's, they're finding for young kids, it's not as forgiving. It's one thing, years ago when all the kids played on grass, and then when they went to college, they might play on an a turf. And then if someone got in the, so they only spent the last 5 or 6 years of playing on those surfaces. It's the younger kids that start at the very young age and spend their entire life on AstroTurf that they're gonna find out sooner or later that, there's gonna be turf toes, there's gonna be bad ankles, there's gonna be bad knees, the hips are gonna start taking up the beating on it too. So there's a lot of concern about AstroTurf. They look good though.
Yeah. When they're
Especially when
maintained.
it's been raining forever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion, we adjourn this meeting at 7:44.
Second.
Second,
Yes.
all in favor?
All in
All in favor?